Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto is the largest museum in Canada. We recently got a behind-the-scenes tour of one of their less public collections.
The Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto, often called the ROM, is Canada's largest museum. The museum's collections include more than 13 million artworks, cultural objects, and natural history specimens, featured in 40 gallery and exhibition spaces. The museum's holdings also include one of the largest collections of fish in the world. But you won't find it here. In fact, we can't show you the collection's exact location, or even show you the building it's housed in. Because of both security and safety concerns, the collection's exact location is kept secret. Let's just say it's within a 2-hour drive of Toronto. Nathan Lujan is the museum's associate curator of fishes.
So here we've got a jar going back to 1939, a few darter specimens. A curator of fishes oversees what's behind me, and that is a collection of fishes here at the ROM. Yeah, these ribbon fishes have a really bizarre looking body and head. So the fish collection at the Royal Ontario Museum is one of the top 10 fish collections in North America. It has 110,000 jars of fishes going back over 100 years. This collection functions like a library. Get the label out here. It should tell us where it was collected. From the Detroit River, Fleming Channel. Really beautiful little catfish. Each jar behind me contains one or more individuals of a single species collected at a single time at a single place. And that's important because it provides a historical record of biodiversity. And then we have databases that tell us where in this vast collection every single specimen is located. So with a quick search of the database, we can identify where a single jar is and find it pretty quickly. Erling, would you like gloves?
I would love gloves.
The fish in the collection come from all over the world and from the waters that are closer to home.
This is a flathead catfish. We used to see them occasionally in the Great Lakes.
We have about 50,000 jars of fishes just from the Great Lakes. That collection provides us an understanding of the history of biodiversity in this region.
Originally intended for use by students at the University of Toronto, today the collection is used by researchers from around the world.
Researchers can come and look at the specimens here on site, or they can request them on loan and we can send those specimens to them wherever they happen to be working in the world.
This is the label that comes directly from Access.
Right.
I like to see the length.
Yep.
Because sometimes I'm looking for a really small fish.
Before Nathan took over, Erling Holm curated the Royal Ontario Museum's fish collection for more than 44 years.
And I retired in March this year.
In nearly 4.5 decades, did Erling see all the specimens in the collection?
Oh, absolutely not. There's over 1.5 million specimens of fish. I'm not sure how many I've looked at, but well, maybe a few 100,000 anyways.
Erling is one of the authors of The ROM Field Guide to Freshwater Fishes of Ontario, which was created based on the fish in the collection and includes information on every species of freshwater fish found in the province.
First edition was published in 2009, and it probably took us 4 or 5 years. We have information on feeding, on habitat, and on reproduction. And then there is a chart of sizes, maximum sizes, and then it lists the similar species that you can confuse it with, and weights.
So let's lift the lid and put it on top of that other tank.
Okay.
Here's my favorite specimen in the collection. This is a South American armored catfish. Yeah, none of these are scales, so catfishes generally don't have scales, but this family of catfishes, the Loricreidae, has evolved armored plates instead of scales. So these are bony plates that cover the body.
The oldest specimen in the collection was jarred more than 150 years ago. And the process of collecting and preserving fish hasn't changed much since then. First, of course, all of the fish had to be caught. After that, the fish were euthanized and preserved.
The fishes, after being euthanized, were fixed in formaldehyde, basically an embalming fluid. And after that fixation process, it becomes very challenging to get any kind of DNA information. That's the cut side. So we separately will take a fin clip or a muscle tissue and put it in a little vial of ethanol that preserves the DNA.
After fixing, fish don't stay in formaldehyde.
We bring them back here, we rinse them out briefly, and then put them into 70% ethanol.
Yeah, this is drinking grade alcohol. I don't think it would taste very good.
The formalin fixes them so that the tissues is hard and it doesn't decompose. But if you don't put them in ethanol, then you can get mold forming on them. Ethanol is a real problem, 70% ethanol, because it's a fire hazard. And so this is the reason actually we moved off site here. They didn't want a fire hazard like that in the basement of the ROM.
There's a fire suppression system in place, but it's there to prevent the collection from going up in smoke. Any people in the room had better move fast.
Massive amount of carbon dioxide will get injected into the room if a smoke alarm goes off. The room becomes totally unbreathable, and you got to get out very quickly.
We'd have 10 seconds to get out of the room and completely extinguish any fires.
One of the most important roles of natural history museums, like the ROM, is to house the type collections, which are the foundation of species identification.
For every species that any biologist has described, they have to have designated a single specimen or group of specimens as the representative, as the archetype of that species. And that is really the infrastructure, the bulwark behind our understanding of biodiversity on Earth. And those are the first specimens in the event of a fire we'd be jumping in to save and pull out.
For fish lovers, the collection may be fascinating, but it also raises an obvious question. Can't we get this knowledge without killing so many fish?
We all love the live fish better seeing them in nature, but these specimens are waiting for research and they're a permanent record of the biodiversity of the past. If you take a photograph of a bird, you probably know what species it is, and you can have the data of when it was collected and where it was collected, and maybe that's sufficient for some research, but there's a lot that's lost with that, and especially with fishes, where there are lots of species that are distinguishable from each other only by minute differences in the teeth inside the jaw. So you would just never be able to get that kind of detail with a photograph.
Technological advances also provide new opportunities for researchers to gain even more knowledge from collections.
So for example, right now, a lot of my work is using CT scanners. So this medical technology that has given us a window into human anatomy is now being used to look at these specimens. And without damaging the specimen, we can look into the morphology and the anatomy on the inside of the fish and see all kinds of surprises, like what their last meal was, and little characteristics of the skull and the skeleton that tell us about their evolution, that tell us about their ecology, and it's just a wealth of information. Those specimens have unlimited chapters to tell that a photograph just would not allow us to delve into.
Thanks for watching. For more on these stories and the Great Lakes in general, visit greatlakesnow.org. When you get there, you can follow us on social media or subscribe to our newsletter to get updates about our work. See you out on the lakes.